Thanks for staying with us on The Real Story. Brandon McGee surprised many when he announced he was stepping down from his position representing Hartford and Windsor in the House of Representatives. He'd been in office for almost a decade, re-elected some 4 times. He's a Hartford native, a former chairman of the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus, and was currently serving as the co-chair of the legislature's Housing Committee. But now a new direction. He has announced that he's joining Governor Lamont's re-election campaign with a senior role, serving as political director. Joining us this morning, Brandon McGee. Thank you so much for being here this morning again.
Hey, Jen, so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, so tell us, this has got to have been a hard decision to kind of walk away from political office. You've served for almost a decade. Tell us what went into that decision.
Yeah, and you know, thank you for this opportunity to be on. I've had, as you've already mentioned in the intro, the honor of representing communities in Hartford and Windsor, better known as the 5th Assembly District in the Connecticut General Assembly. And together with my colleagues and others, I've just been so privileged to fight for social issues, social solutions to address equity in our state on every issue, including, as already mentioned, housing, mental health, education, criminal justice reform. And it was a tough decision. It really was. But having consulted with my other boss, my wife, and other political advisors, this was a great opportunity for me to continue the work that I was doing in the legislature and continue working alongside Governor Ned Lamont on his re-election campaign. You know, I go all the way back to his time when he ran for Congress, and I was a young college student. And here I am several decades later, or maybe a couple, and I'm working alongside Governor Lamont again, as he's done to invest in our communities, grow our economy, and oversee what I call the best in the nation COVID response, paying particularly care to those vulnerable communities that have been hit the hardest by this continued pandemic.
Tell us what your proudest moment was in the legislature, if you can narrow it down. Do you have one that comes to mind?
Oh my God, that's a hard question. But you know what? The hardest, or rather not the hardest, but the most memorable moment for me in the legislature was being able to pass a law recognizing racism as a public health crisis here in the state of Connecticut. And again, working alongside Governor Lamont and his team to ensure that not only did we pass a policy, but we fund the policy as well to address the inequities in government. There are so many others, but that is one that I will hold near and dear to my heart, and I'll continue to work on those policies, even now as a non-representative, but making sure that those who are most vulnerable are still being heard.
Yeah, Brandon, that was a big moment for our state, and you pushed that hard. I mean, you were the forefront on that piece of legislation, and I remember the Senate, right before they were about to vote on it, I remember, you know, state senator and the Republican leader in the Senate standing up and voting for that bill. I mean,
as a matter of fact, I think you had us on like after.
Yeah, did I have you guys both on? I think I did actually.
You did, and we were able to reflect, and we were brutally honest. It was a very challenging moment to reckon with history, you know, the history of inequities and institutionalized racism, and we still have a long ways to go. And just because we passed that law doesn't mean we were able to crack that very nasty history of racism that exists in our public space. So. Yeah, I am not going far, as I've already said to many people. I am just fighting the good fight on a different side of our government.
So are you done being an elected leader? Will we see you pop up again at some point? Or, I mean, you're a young man, obviously. You have years to make that decision. But when you're thinking about it, are you like, you know, I did the political office. I'm kind of done with it. I want to go in this direction. Or is that something that you could see surfacing again at some point?
Let's just put it this way, Jen, you are good at what you do. I have not counted it out, but at this point, I have 2 little girls, and I'm excited that I get to spend just a little bit more time with them. But I will continue as I continue working alongside the governor and the re-election team to get our governor reelected and to continue building on the progress that he and I, as alongside others, have made together. So I'm really excited about it, but I haven't counted it out. But at the moment, I'm laser focused on what's before me now.
We have an open seat now in the House, and I think there's going to be a special election, or there is going to be a special election for that seat since you're no longer
on my birthday.
Oh, really? That's ironic. So do you have someone that you're looking at that you feel like you could endorse at this point or feel supportive of, or are you just going to wait and see what happens with the race?
Yeah, there are so many great, promising leaders to assume my former position. I will support the endorsement of the 5th Assembly District when that happens and help that candidate get across the finish line. I'm sure there will be opponents. I'm sure this is going to be a highly contested race, but I am very confident in our district leadership that they will endorse a person who can continue the work in the 5th Assembly District.
What do you think the 5th Assembly District needs moving forward? Like, what would be your biggest advice for the person who has that position and is elected? Where do you see the need, and where would you be concerned that, this attention is drawn to a specific issue?
Yeah, because I am stepping away from the position doesn't mean that the issues just go away, right? So when you talk about the need to address housing and healthcare and economic, opportunities for individuals who live in the district, whether it's Windsor or Hartford, this person, whoever's elected, they have to be extremely focused on convening two different communities that have similar challenges. And so my biggest prayer is that this person who will be elected to the 5th Assembly District seat would be that person who is open-minded, but laser focused on representing the people in this district. And quite frankly, Black and brown people and even white folk are not monolith, right? And so there's so many people that we represent when we take on these positions. And I just hope that person really understands the importance of convening and also listening to the many voices from our very diverse district here in the 5th.
I know Governor Lamont's campaign is just kind of forming. I mean, you're obviously on the inside of that. But in terms of political director, and if you can't say at this point, that's fine. But what do you think your role is going to be? Do you even know? Or is that something that you guys are kind of shaping or you can't discuss?
Yeah, no, political director, obviously, I've come over from the state legislature and there's some experience and relationships that will have a great value with our reelection efforts. But I've known Ned for so many years. I've walked the streets here throughout the state and even in Hartford with him. And I just believe he's someone that we must continue to support and to move our state and keep moving in the right direction. So, I'll be interfacing with a lot of our town committee folks, a lot of our various influencers throughout the state, whether it's our Black community, our Latino community, our LGBTQ plus community, our faith-based, just to name a few. But I'll be interfacing with just about anybody who's interested in meeting with me. And so I'm really excited about leveraging my relationships, but most importantly, engaging with the residents here in the state of Connecticut.
All right, and it's going to shape up to be a good race, it looks like so far. We have Bob Stefanowski we just had on back in the race. Brandon McGee, thank you so much for coming back on The Real Story. We've had you on many times, and it will be interesting to see how this new role blossoms, and we'll certainly look to see if you ever jump back into being in the elected official realm as well. Final thoughts from you for people who are at home and just, have seen you in a capacity. I mean, I remember when we had you here too, when we were doing the debates, you ran for Hartford mayor.
Oh yeah,
What was that, it was 2019, right? We did fun debate.
It was 2019, yes. Time flies.
It does. But final thoughts for you as you make this transition.
Yeah, so thanks again, Jen, for this opportunity. I just want to say again, and I know I started out in the outset thanking the district, but I want to thank all of the many people that have voted for me for these last nearly 10 years to represent them in the General Assembly. Thank you for that opportunity. But please know that I will continue to fight on behalf of the 5th Assembly District, but now I have a greater opportunity to fight for the entire state. And so I'm forever indebted and grateful to the great people of Hartford and Windsor. Thank you so much.
Brandon McGee, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that does it for us on The Real Story. If you want to watch these segments again, you can go to fox61.com or you can download the Fox 61 News app and watch The Real Story every Sunday at 10 a.m. right here on Fox 61. Have a great morning.